You gotta think about it. Think about it.
Hey guys, I hope you're all doing well. Very quick video today. I'm going to be talking about why I think it's a good time to get yourself a 3DS if you haven't got one already, but equally why it's a good time to mod it and reap some of those benefits. So let's have a little chat about it.
Game Girl, Game Boy,
Superstar DJs. Here we go! Hey girl.
So if anyone's been watching the channel, then you probably know that I do love my handheld devices, particularly the Game Boy, but the other system, probably next up after that, which I've got the most affinity with, is the 3DS. Do love it. DS as well, but something about the 3DS has always tickled my fancy. I think perhaps because it is a difficult one to emulate. Obviously with the 3D effect, you can get the games working on other systems in other ways, but to stay authentic with that depth of field and the 3D visuals, I just think is it's a nice concept. And originally, when I first heard about it, the bloody cynic in me, I thought it's going to be a bit gimmicky, a bit crappy, and is it really gonna look good? Because you're not wearing glasses; it's purely the illusion through the display screens. But lo and behold, I've got to say, there are some crap games out on there on that system, but it's probably not dissimilar from any other system. But when it does a good job of the 3D, in my opinion, it does a really, really good job. A lovely device. I've got a few of them, and I've always been on the fence around hacking them. I don't know, mainly because I've got a lot of the original games. I've got the full set for the PAL 3DS titles. And when going online and through updates and all the rest of it, and when the eShop was open, I didn't want to do anything that would kind of compromise, brick the console, or getting Nintendo's bad books, because albeit I'm a lone single player, it's probably I do hear that they have got ways you can have the Switch. If you try and do stuff like that in the wrong way, it could compromise your use of it. If you do it particularly if you royally screw it up. And for me, I am, I wouldn't say I'm a technical ignoramus, but certain things I'm a bit kind of cautious and steady about. Maybe I'm steady Eddie. I'm showing my age a little bit. But with the eShop obviously closing or closed, the fact that we're way into the next generation or generations of consoles, it's far less of a an active. It's not an active console. It's a previous gen handheld. So I thought it'd be a good time to look at it price wise as well. I think I got fairly lucky. I do think it is a good time if you're willing to apply a little bit of research or a bit of patience on eBay and just put some alerts in there. You can. I've seen some go for like 30-40 quid for, I've got here the one which I've modded is the 3DS XL. So it's not the new 3DS or the new 3DS XL. It's the first XL 3DS that came out, and I've seen some of these go for as low as like 30-40 pounds working. Obviously cheaper than that if you want parts on average for a fairly decent one, 90, 100 quid. But like I say, if you buy time, you can probably get half that price. Equally, Facebook Marketplace, the fact that it is it's a clamshell, it's not like say the GBA or the Open GBA where the screen's more vulnerable. Even like there's a 2DS as well, where it's not clamshell, so it's more exposed to the elements and scratches and people treating it like crap. Where with this, as long as someone's fairly sensible, the screen should be in a decent condition, unless some kind of animal has got to it. So where you do see a bit of usage, you might get the odd scratch on the screen, but it tends to be more on the case itself. But it's fairly cheap to get. So I did embark on getting some custom firmware on there. There's a great site, I think it's 3ds.hackguide.com, whatever it is, I'll put it within the description, which I thought was really, really useful. It basically adds some custom firmware, is it CFW, onto all these bloody acronyms, which again kind of went right over my head up until the point I started looking at it. And in my opinion, it's better to follow that site than it is necessarily video, because the site is, as far as I can tell, it's updated. It troubleshoots depending on the, it's almost a flow of, you choose what, because you can mod your DS as well. What DS you've got, if it's what 3DS you've got, is it a new one, is it an old one, is it an XL? What firmware you currently running on it. And if there's issues that pop up, it says, now you need to do this and that. I had very few issues, but when I did through this troubleshooting guide, it was really, really, helpful. So it's loaded on, it's boot 9 strap, which is like the firmware, and Luma 3DS. As far as I understand, I think the Luma 3DS is the piece that basically removes the region lock. So in case you didn't know, the 3DS is region locked if you buy one that's been unmodded. Unlike the DS or 2DS, with that one you can play games from any region. So for me, again, that was cool. So albeit I've got the PAL games, there's quite a few games I missed out on the eShop, which I can now get on there. But equally, I've already put a cheeky order in for Japan as well to get some Japanese 3DS games, and obviously US 3DS games as well, if I so choose. So yeah, it's worth doing. So I think in terms of the pros and the cons, we start with the pros. The region lock is the is the biggie. You can access if you wanted to as well. Like ROMs. I'm not going to start talking about how you get those. But it's fairly, if you wanted to, it's fairly easy to acquire them. Homebrews as well. Hey guys, sorry to interrupt the video. I've just finished filming it, doing the editing, and then I remembered, had a bit of an afterthought. If anyone's aware of any kind of US, Japanese, eShop exclusive games for 3DS that you'd give a thumbs up, please chuck them in the comments. I'd love to hear about them, and I'll add them to my list. Thanks very much. Yes, it's pretty handy to do. I think the considerations are very few and far between, but there was an element of caution, probably why I've left it all these years, around should I consider kind of hacking it. But I felt through reading up on this guide as well, I thought the chances of me really royally screwing it up were fairly low. And I think my advice would be allow yourself a bit of time. It didn't take me too long to do. If I was to do it again, I could probably do it in about half an hour. Most of that time probably just waiting for certain scripts to be run on the handheld. The first time round I was super cautious. It was probably about an hour, and I did do it on a bit of a lunch break at work. So hindsight, it probably wasn't the best time to do it. It did add a bit of extra pressure because I was thinking, shit, I don't really want to leave this half done. I want to see it through. Unfortunately, it just got sorted but before the end. So yeah, I'd say the chances, if you're steady, you follow the guide, the chances of you bricking it are fairly low. And I think there's a point in the process as well whereby it almost exports some files. So if you wanted to get it back to the original state, then there's a way to do that, I believe, through the memory card. But yeah, what do you need? A few download files, again, all available through this site. You need the hardware, and then a memory card itself. I think it says ideally have one that's over 2 gig. I think that's mainly so you can flood it with games if you wanted to, and don't go too crazy. I think if you could go for like some absolutely behemoth memory card, obviously times have moved on already since the handheld came out, then I think that can cause issues as well. But if you've got that, I think the only other, if I was to do it again and perhaps had a bit more money to spend, if I was willing to kind of sacrifice a new 3DS XL, then I would do it on a new 3DS. I think the reason being is that you can also emulate other games. I think how I've done it at the moment on the standard 3DS XL, like 8-bit, 16-bit would be fine. So I'm talking, like Super Nintendo, perhaps like Mega Drive as well. You can emulate, get all the ROMs and things like that. I think I'd be fine. But I think on the new 3DS, it does say you can play a few like PlayStation games perfectly, play perfectly well on it. So that would be quite a nice thing to do. Also, the browser with the original, 3DS, again, times have moved on. So if you try and look at websites through it, it could be quite painful. YouTube was just a complete bloody no-no. But fortunately, through the various homebrews, as well as there being games, there's a lot of applications you can do. And I barely scratched the surface of it, to be honest. But I did get a YouTube one. It's called, I think it's Third Tube. And it's really good. And really simple to use. But I do feel that those applications surely would be only quicker if I'd done it on the new 3DS software. And that's it, really. I'm probably going to do one other video linked to this around very quickly showing how to convert basically a 3DS file, which I think you get from a car, or if you say you were to download into it's called an FBI file, which is one which you can basically install, get on here, and then you can just launch it from the home screen, basically. So I wouldn't say it's certainly not a faff, but it's one of those. It's easier, far easier when you know how and you've done it once. I think I'll do a short video on that. And the reason, like I said, before, I don't think I'd do a video on the full end-to-end because I think it'll become dated fairly quickly depending on how this, the firmware further enhance itself, and the guide as well, because of all the troubleshooting bits. If something does go a bit awry, then it shows you how to very quickly to correct it, and it's far quicker in my estimation. But each to their own. You might prefer to see a video on it, but for this time only, I thought it was easier just going through an online guide. Brill, hope you liked. Long live the 3DS. If it's something you haven't picked up or played, I do love this thing. Strongly recommend it. There's some awesome games. And if I get a chance, I'll probably go through like pickups or maybe some gameplay vids of those videos that the non-PAL games that are kind of heading over, particularly the ones from Japan, and there's some in the US as well. I've got my eyes on. But take care. Have a good weekend. Cheers.